Well, hello there folks, how are you? It's Kenneth James Kerr once again, and thank you for joining me today in the video library. I do appreciate you being here today, or let's put it another way. I am grateful for you being here today. Today we're going to take a look at the vignette on page 17 of the paperback, and you'll also find it on page 23 of the hardback. Here's what the quotation says. No external circumstance, event, or person ever creates your feelings. You do. Let me say it again. No external circumstance, event, or person ever creates your feelings. You do. A very, very simple quotation, a very simple phrase, but the meaning of it, the implications of it, are both massive. Let's imagine that you've just met somebody, a friend of yours, okay? What's one of the typical ways we greet them? Hey, how are you? Right? It's a very simple, it's a very superficial type of a greeting, and of course I think we'll typically get a superficial response. Oh, I'm fine. I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm great. Fair to Midland, Midland to fair. Oh, all right, under the circumstances. I mean, there's all sorts of canned responses, right? Well, supposing it was someone that you really know and you know they've been having a bit of a challenge, you might take the greeting a little bit deeper. Instead of saying, how are you? You might say something like, how are you feeling? And again, depending on the level of the rapport, the strength of and the depth of the relationship that you have with that person, you might get different responses. It might be, oh, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm feeling okay. Yeah, I'm not bad. And sometimes when people say that, you may get the sense that there's something going on behind the scenes. And yet again, depending on the strength and the relationship itself, you may say, hang on a minute, there's something going on here. What are you feeling really? And suddenly at that point, a line is crossed. Because you've gone beyond the superficial and you've started to request of them information that's of a far more intimate and personal nature. And at that point, your friend might look at you and say, well, and they might break down and cry. Or they might get a bit sheepish, or they might get a bit uncomfortable because they know that you're scratching the surface of something that's going on. And they may then tell you, well, this is what I'm feeling. I'm pretty sad. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm worried about something. I'm concerned about something. Or, hey, I'm just absolutely overjoyed. I'm over the moon by something. I mean, whatever it may be. Because all of a sudden you've crossed into territory that is to do with their emotions. It's to do with their feelings. It's to do with what's really going on inside them. And you may at that point, you may or may not at that point decide to say, well, why are you feeling this way? And that is where the rubber hits the road. Because so many people will turn around at that point and say, and even if this is not a question and answer session between you and somebody else, it might be going on in your own head. And at this point, you look at your feelings, or they look at their feelings, and they may say things like this, well, it's my husband, it's my wife, it's my partner, it's my whatever, and they said this to me, and it made me feel so sad, or it made me feel so angry, or oh my God, it really totally pissed me off. Or it may be an event. It may be, well, that situation over there happened, and oh my goodness me, it just ruffles all my feathers. It just absolutely gets me. Or it may be a politician. Well, that politician just really gets to me. Or it may be something going on that they say, I'm really frightened of this. I'm really scared of this thing that's going on around the world right now. I'm terrified about it. And I want you to take a look at so many of these conditions, so many of these situations, and they all have one thing in common. What's that? They are all external to the individual. Whether that person is you or whether that person is someone that you're talking to about their feelings, these are things that are external to them, external to you. And it seems to me, folks, that we're living in a world where there's almost this paradigm, this way of thinking, there's this assumption in the world that outside circumstances control our inner feelings. Now, is that true? Or is it false? We're going to talk about this in a little bit more depth here because it really, really is very, very, very important. If it is true that outside circumstances are the only creator of your feelings, then you are always a victim to outside circumstances. You're always giving your power to other people. Whether it's your friends, whether it's your relatives, whether it's your partner or spouse, whether it's your parents, whether it's your government, whether it's the media, whether it's your boss, you're always giving your power to someone else or something else if it is true that the creator of your feelings is nothing more than outside circumstances, outside events, and other people. So the question that I'm asking is it true? Now, obviously, the sentence itself, the quotation there says, no external circumstances, event, or person ever create your feelings. You do. Now, there's a big part of the answer, but I'm going to say something that might surprise you. There's true and false in each situation. There's true and false in saying that, oh, outside circumstances control me. And there's true and false in saying that, well, nothing ever controls me. See, this is where these videos become really important because we can plumb the depths a wee bit more than I can in a tiny little bit of space in the book. So what the heck do I mean by saying it's true and false? Well, let's look at it this way. Do outside circumstances create your feelings? Here's the true bit. Yes, there is a direct connection between external circumstances and events and your feelings. There is no doubt about that. No doubt. There is a level of causality there. There is a relationship there. There is a connection there. So, for example, let's think about the world of employment. Let's say that you went into your job yesterday and the boss called you into the office and the boss said, I got some news for you. What's that? You're fired. Now, how would that event, how would that set of circumstances impact you? Well, for some people it might say, well, good riddance to you, mate. Didn't like this job anyway. But for many, many other people it would be instant fear, instant worry, instant concern. A whole bunch of negative feelings like, oh my God, how am I going to pay my mortgage next month? How am I going to pay my car loan? With today's inflation, how am I going to buy the food? Etc., etc. And the feelings that come from that event are certainly predicated upon the event. If the event had not happened, those feelings would not have generated. So yes, there's a level of causality there, that's for sure. Well, let's stay with a job. Let's say the boss called you in and said, you know what, man, you are doing one heck of a job. We're going to promote you. I mean, we're going to just, you're going up 2 or 3 levels and your salary is going to double. Well, how would you feel then? Well, I mean, you wouldn't be able to contain yourself. You'd probably be jumping up and down and you'd get out there and you'd be calling everyone you know, your wife or your husband or your folks or whoever. Well, guess what, yay, and again, outside circumstance and inner feelings are absolutely connected. And of course, we can find myriad examples of that. I mean, in a family situation, it may be that there's a whole different ballgame between living with someone that you're in friction with all the time or living with somebody that you're in harmony with all the time. Things that the person says, things that the person does, the degree of closeness or separation within the relationship. Again, there's a bit of external circumstance going on there, obviously, but there's a lot of internal feeling. Same with if there's a bereavement in your family, you're going to feel very different than if there is a birth in your family. And so there are so many situations that we can point to and say, yes, you know what, that circumstance, that event, this person did set in motion a cascade of thoughts, a cascade of circumstances, a cascade of events that did have an impact upon the feelings that you felt within. So yes, there is a connection between the external and the internal. But it's also untrue. Someone says, how can you have both? Well, let me explain. How is it that two people can be in exactly the same situation, exactly the same circumstances, and yet have two completely different sets of feelings and different sets of responses? So let's again go back to the world of business, the world of having a job. And let's say that it's not just you that gets called into your office on Monday morning to tell you that you're fired. It's also your co-worker in the next cubicle, the next room, the next office, whatever it may be. And you're both called in. Let's say you both do the same job, you both have the same salary, you both have roughly the same level of expenses, and you both get told, that's it, you're gone. And one person goes off the deep end into a ton of negativity and fear and doubt and worry, and the other person says, all right, that's the way it is. C'est la vie. All right, fine, I'll start looking for something else. How the heck is it that two people can be so different in their response and or reaction to the same set of external circumstances? It's because there is far more than just the external circumstance that comes to bear when you're talking about feelings and how they are generated and when they are generated. What is it? It's what's going on up here, isn't it? You see, here's the very, very important thing to realize. While external circumstances do have an impact, they can become the catalyst for a feeling. They can become a stimulus for a feeling. You always ultimately create the feelings themselves. Why? Because the feelings aren't felt out there in the ether. Someone else isn't going to feel the feelings for you. The world doesn't care, the media doesn't care, the government doesn't care, your boss doesn't care. The reality is, only you feel your feelings, and you feel them inside you, not out there in the world. And while the situations and the circumstances and the people certainly have an impact, as I say, they create stimuli. They become the catalyst. They can become a cause set in motion, but ultimately, it is you that creates the response. Now, this is so important to understand, because if you create the response, then you have the ability to direct the response, or to change the response, or to control the response or reaction, which means you are no longer absolutely committed to, stuck within and trapped within forever, the victimhood mentality. Now that's important. Remember what we said. If it is true that outside circumstances are the only creator of our inner feelings, we're always at the mercy of the outer circumstances, the other person, etc. But the moment you and I realize that our feelings are created within, then we can say, wait a minute. Then I have somewhere within me the ability to do something about those feelings. Because ultimately, no external circumstance, event, or person ever creates your feelings. You do. These other things are the stimulus, the catalyst. They create the conditions that you have to respond to, but you have the ability to control the response. Now, do you get how important this is? I mean, it's huge. It's massive. Now, sometimes the response has to be negative. Sometimes you've got to get angry. Sometimes you've got to get pissed off. Sometimes you've got to cry your eyes out. Sometimes you've got to feel the grief. Sometimes you've got to feel the anger. Sometimes you've got to feel the offense. Because that's part and parcel of life. We have this unbelievable tapestry of the potential of emotion and feeling for a reason. Don't ever let anyone say to you, you've got to feel good all the time. That's rubbish. No, you don't. Sometimes you've got to feel the other feelings. Sometimes you've got to feel the dark side of your emotions. That's true. However, doesn't mean you're going to get stuck there. It doesn't mean you've got to harbour and hold on to the negativity and the offence and the anger and the pain for a lifetime, because that's going to impact the rest of your life in a negative way, potentially. So how do you take control? How do you look at situations and circumstances and say, you know what? I want to have more appropriate feelings. I want to be able to do something about this. I want to recognize that I can be in control more of the time and out of control less of the time. What can you do about it? Well, here's some suggestions. Number one, interception. What do I mean by that? I want you to imagine you've got a Christmas tree over in the corner of your room and you plug it in over here. Well, the power has to go down the line over to the Christmas tree and all the lights come on, right? Well, that's a bit like you. Guess what? The outside circumstances is the putting in of the plug. The feelings are all these lights coming on, all these associations, all these thoughts, all these beliefs that kick in, the ideas, the cognitions, the experiences, the memories, the associations that all come on and the lights come on. And it may be good, it may be bad. But if you can recognize that there is a line between this and this, and that you're the thing in the middle, you can bring wisdom to bear, thought to bear, consideration to bear, to intercept that pattern before the lights come on. Oh yes, this happened, and instead of flying off the handle about it, you might be able to say, oh, whoa, stop, wait a minute. Think about it in a different way and create a different thought, pattern, feeling, emotion, response, reaction, etc. So interception is very, very, very important. That puts you in control. And again, understanding that the negative feelings might be the appropriate one too. The next one is this: reframe. Reframe. Sometimes you see a situation outside and you start to feel all sorts of feelings, and you know that's your bent kicking in, right? That's just the way that you're hot wired, is that you're feeling that way, whether it's the anger, whether it's the sadness, whether it's the fear, whether it's the anxiety, whether it's the worry, whether it's the sadness, the uncertainty, whatever it may be. And sometimes what you have to do in order to put yourself more in control is to reframe. In this sense, see it through different eyes. See it through different eyes. I'll give you a very timely, very personal example. Tomorrow, my daughter moves out of the family home, our only child. Now, I admit she's been here a lot longer than most young people. She's almost 27. So I've got to enjoy relating to her, not just as a kid, but as adult to adult. And she's my best friend. She's my best buddy. And I look at it and say, my God, all these years she's been in our home. All these years I can just go through to her room and say, hey, kiddo, how you doing? And all of a sudden she's going to be 500 and something kilometers away. Now, there's a part of me that hurts like hell. There's a part of me that's already had the crying, that's already had the, oh my God, how is this going to be? And the empty nest scenario, and just, part of me breaks my heart. Now, if I got stuck in that emotion, I'd never move ahead, and it would be unfair to her. Outside situation, internal feelings. So how can I reframe that? See it through different eyes. Whose eyes? Hers. She's embarking on an adventure. The adventure that she must have to become her own person, have her own level of determination and independence, her own life, which everyone deserves. Now, if I see it through her eyes, then I rejoice with her. But you see, that's a deliberate decision to reframe the interpretation of the outside circumstances to generate different feelings within. And the other one is to change the balance point. Because sometimes there are times when an event makes you feel sad or it makes you feel happy. And sometimes you have a predilection towards one, and what you have to do is to realistically and with awareness find a different balance point, shift the fulcrum so that you can feel things differently. No external circumstance, event, or person ever creates your feelings. You do. May this lesson serve you now and in the future. This is Kenneth James Kerr, and I will see you in the next video.